Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the latest issue of Warhammer 40k Imperium magazine. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course drop a comment down below. I love hearing back from you guys and it goes a massive way to help the channel too. Now, this week we are on issue 43 of Imperium magazine and we have a paint issue. It's not the best value for money because it is one single pot of paint and one brush. Now, the pot of paint we get is Stormhost Silver, very handy for your metallics, so really quite, useful in a way. And we get a small layer brush, very good for edge highlights, and obviously getting into smaller nooks and crannies and adding a little bit of detail to your units. And that's it. So, as I say, in terms of monetary value, yeah, this could be better, but in all honesty, it is what it is. We just have to get on with it. Now, into the issue itself, we of course have a background page for the Adepta Sororitas. So, this background page will give us names and titles. So, rolling a d66 will give you your good old generator for everything. So, for instance, you would roll two six-sided dice, one after the other. The first result represents the tens, the second represents units, giving you a result between 11 and 66. Or you can roll one dice twice, entirely up to you. But either way, you would be able to get, for instance, if you rolled, you will roll this twice. So you get a first name on the first attempt, you will get a second name on the second one. So, for instance, you could have, if you rolled a 31, you'd get Severa. If your second roll was, for instance, 63, Rose. So you'd have Severa Rose as the name for a commander that you can utilise, or any other unit in your Adepta Sororitas army. Or for instance, you could have, for instance, Catherine and then Aquila. So really unique. Or if you don't want to do this, you can utilise some of the online name generators that you can find online. If you Google search them, you will stumble across quite a few different ones, and you can click a button and it will randomly give you a name, but always very handy to have. You can do that with pretty much every 40k army and Age of Sigmar army if you wanted to, and I believe you can also do it with Blood Bowl teams, so really good stuff. But it adds a little bit extra to it, or if you want to, make up your own names, your choice. On the other page though, we do get titles, and we also get epithets as well for units. So, for instance, with your heroic titles, you would utilise these mostly for your character units, for the Adepta Sororitas. So, you would roll a d33. So, for instance, your first roll would be part of it, and then the second roll part of the second one. And you can do this twice. So, you could roll, if you are doing the d33, you're using a d3 table. So, it's a d6 dice done as a d3. 1 or a 2 equals 1, 3 or a 4 equals 2, 5 or a 6 equals 3. And you also do that for the second dice that you can use, and then you can get your results. So for instance, you roll 2 dice, so you'd get your 10s and your units, and you do these essentially twice as well. So you could have, for instance, Wrathful Blade, or even the Blessed Guardian as your heroic titles. So really cool stuff. And then you can also do the same for your unit titles, so you can, for instance, have the Heralds of Justice, or the Daughters of Absolution, or even the Sisters of St. Catherine. Really cool stuff, and it just adds a little bit extra to your armies, your units, and much more. Gives it a little bit of a tweak and a little bit of a uniqueness, which is exactly what a lot of people want from their armies. We also have a background page for the Necrons. Now, this isn't to do with naming them, this is to do with certain units, mainly your HQ units, including the Pharaoh Command Barge, which we get later on, and our Necron Overlord for the first page, which will give a corrupted code and its effect. So, for this one, you are rolling just one dice and you only roll it once. If you roll a 1, you will be imbued with supreme arrogance, which means you have a disdain for commoners. The effect of this means that you would generally use that kind of Necron noble to surround itself with elite troops over the Necron warriors, and view the Necron warriors with a load of contempt. so generally would shun them. So for instance, if you are a Necron Overlord, you would surround yourself mainly with a Lich Guard or something like that, and neither with the Necron Warriors, unless it's a complete last resort. So, adds a little bit extra to your character. On the other page though, we get it for the Cryptex, so this would be a corrupted engram instead, and this would be, for instance, the restoration of a Necron tier. So this is a Cryptech that is obsessed with returning the Necrons to bodies of flesh and blood, which has the effect of seeking to capture living subjects and transfer them to personal laboratories, and this would be utilised for your Chronomancer, Plasmancer and Technomancer units as a kind of main rule. So really good stuff, and it adds a little bit extra to them as well, which is always really handy. Then we get information about one of the other many different factions that are within the 41st millennium. This is the Thousand Sons. Now, the Thousand Sons are a traitor unit of Space Marines, essentially. The Thousand Sons are the true masters of warp sorcery. Imbued with dread powers by their worship of the Dark God Tzeentch, and guided by their devious Primarch demon, Magnus the Red, they threaten to tear apart the fabric of reality. Now, these are one of the coolest Chaos Space Marine units out there. The good old Rubric Marines, which are these guys in gold and blue, are really cool. They are so lovely looking. They are one of the best kind of looking Chaos Space Marine units out there, in my personal opinion. Not everybody has to agree, but they are really good, and I do like them. I like the look of them. But they are utilising the warp to push through sorcery, and to utilise that to take over conquest in a lot of places. Then we get information about one of the other war zones within the 41st millennium. So this is the Scourge Stars, which after the collapsing worlds of the Imperium were easy prey for the followers of Nurgle. The worlds now known as the Scourge Stars were first to fall into their embrace. So after the opening of the Great Rift, the Great Clean One, Slurg Glothorax, if I've even said that very well, and his legions of demons invaded the systems to the north of Ultramar. They spread many strains of disease across the world, claiming 3 entire star systems on behalf of the chaos god of plague and decay, Nurgle. So, these star systems became known as Noxious, Rotgrave and Verminox. They are homes of plague, decay and disease. The Garden of Nurgle is strong in all of these areas, which of course, if you don't know about the Garden of Nurgle, it does appear in Age of Sigmar and has appeared in 41st Millennium. It is the lair of the God of Decay. It is thick with poisonous vegetation, rotting pools of noxious fluid and buzzing clouds of plague flies. Demons of all shapes and sizes make their home in this thoughted realm, tending to the gardens and creating fresh strains of disease to unleash upon the galaxy. So, the Garden is a very unique place, a very unusual place, and yeah, you wouldn't want to go there on holiday, in all honesty. It does not sound very nice unless you want to come back with some very exotic disease that may never be able to be cured. So yeah, not fun. The painting guide for this issue though, we get a lot of information about edge highlighting. Edge highlighting is very good for utilising on bladed weapons as a kind of cool rule, or even just tweaking and making certain units look ever so slightly better with a little bit of a highlight. And yeah, you can go over all your old models if you're painting along with a magazine and get them looking very nice, sharp and a little bit cooler at the same time. And yeah, you can utilise this with Stormhost Silver or even Canoptech Alloy, or even many other different paints depending on how you want to go about doing it. Over metallic work though, edge highlighting can stand out an absolute dream and make it look fantastic. And utilising it on a lot of other flatter colours as well, such as your blues and stuff like that, can also add super huge amounts to it. So really good stuff. You can also utilise your small layer brush now for null, oil and recess shading, which recess shading is very handy to kind of just go in between the gaps of armour. For instance, so on your Space Marines, where that gap is where the joins of the legs meet up, or even them little kind of vents on the backpack, you can utilise it in there, and it just adds a little bit of depth to it. So it's not one flat colour that looks a bit bland and a bit dull, but you can add to that as well. But yeah, otherwise you can make your army look really, really cool now, so you can add a super huge amount to them, making them look pretty damn good. And yeah, they should, if you're following along with the magazine at least, look something similar to that in the long run. Then we get some faction rules for the Adepta Sororitas. This is the Sacred Rite. So the majority of units in the Adepta Sororitas army have the Sacred Rite ability listed on their datasheet. This page contains the rules for all of the Sacred Rites abilities available to your Adepta Sororitas. Read through the page and the following tutorial before playing your next mission. So, the Sacred Rites. So, for instance, if you have the Sacred Rites, you may have certain abilities that you can utilise and kind of push through. Certain ones have certain different things that can be done with them. So, for instance, Spirit of a Martyr being a core one that you can utilise. So you would roll to find out your Sacred Rites abilities and how you go about doing them. So for instance, you could have the Spirit of the Martyr, which would mean then that every time you have a unit of, say, Sisters of Battle, and they are beaten down, they take attrition, they get hurt by a unit or anything like that, so they may lose a couple of characters in there who might get killed. The others will take a stronger standpoint and will be able to hit mortal wounds on a more regular basis, and could also do a lot of damage against a stronger foe because they're fairly weak in what they can take. That's how it works, and they push through. And kind of it inspires them to kind of push through. Then we get information for our new next mission, of course, and the next mission is Cover the Retreat. So for this mission we are using our Necron forces of the Chronomancer, Technomancer, 10 Necron warriors and 3 Canoptech Scarab swarms, going up against the Canoness from last issue, the Librarian, 5 Assault Intercessors and your 10 Skitari Rangers. And it's all about progressive objectives as well, and utilising those to score your victory points. And yeah, if you have destroyed the enemy warlord, a extra 2 points is gained at the end of the battle. So really, really good, and it's all about controlling those 3 points if you wish to. But yeah, pretty decent little battle and good fun. On to next week though, we are greeted by issue 44, which will give us some more scenery we've already had. If you haven't painted it yet, you know, summer is here in the UK. If you have good weather, around about 20 to 24 degrees, get a can of spray paint, shake it up very, very nicely. Don't do it when it's a very windy day. Don't do it indoors because it will stink to all kinds of high heaven, and you can utilise your spray paints to get a nice even colour across bits of scenery, which is always very, very handy. Then paint all your details and you can get a load out of it. So really, really good stuff. Issue 45 we get our Canoptech Wraith, another cool Necron unit. Looks really, really damn good. We also get some information about the Order of Valorous Heart and some more of the different aliens as well. So really, really cool stuff. A lot of good stuff to look forward to. And with that said and done, I will catch you next time. Bye bye now.